Joining us now, we have Ben Schreckinger. He is national political correspondent for Politico. But reason we have him today is he's also author of a brand new book. It is called The Bidens Inside the First Family's 50-Year Rise to Power. Great to have you, Ben. Welcome.
Good to see you, Ben.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. I think we have the book jacket we can throw up on the screen so people can see it. It's for sale right now, right? Yes. So you can go out and grab it. Let's start with the big news that you broke here. I'm sure our audience will recall. Shortly before Election Day, there was a whole blow up in the media around Hunter Biden's alleged at that time laptop. There was a lot of allegations. Oh, maybe this is Russian disinformation. New York Post article comes out about it. It's censored by Twitter. You can't even share it because this came from sketchy sources and it might be Russian disinformation. You were able to nail down with your reporting that at least some of the emails that were exchanged on this laptop were in fact legitimate. Lay out for us what you found.
Sure. So most importantly, I spoke to someone who for a time had some independent access to Hunter Biden's emails. They say he did receive an email from a Ukrainian businessman thanking him for the chance to meet his father, and that he did receive an email from a business partner laying out the proposed equity structure for a venture with some Chinese business executives that included the line 10 held by H for the big guy. Those were the lines that were at the center of the controversy last October, the emails that were initially published by the New York Post. And I was also able to corroborate some other emails that didn't really make the news, that just sort of show that there's other genuine material here. I spoke to a couple of people who corresponded with Hunter Biden in 2018 and 2019. They said, yep, those messages are messages I did exchange with him. And then I obtained some emails from a Swedish government agency. For a while, Hunter Biden had an office in the complex on K Street that houses the Swedish embassy. So the Swedish government was essentially his landlord. They released to me, a half dozen or a dozen email exchanges, and those match emails in the cache. So what I can say is that some of this material, at least, is genuine.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I did not expect it to blow up as much as it did. Your report on that, some of it is genuine. The political press almost seemed to be like, whoa, it's genuine. I mean, it seemed quite obvious to me, given the fact that he didn't deny it. The Biden campaign, now administration, continues to not deny it. It almost seems unfortunate that that's the top line news. I mean, there's so much more that's packed into the book. So first, just give your reaction in terms of like how exactly the media has responded to what you've put out, but just give us some more of a sense of what's in there. I mean, this is an entire thing. You really went inside of the Biden family, which is not nearly as well known as, if you think about the characters of Trump Jr. and Kushner. I mean, even Clinton and his brother Roger, everybody knew about that. Obama, right? Famously, Malik Obama, or his sister, or his mom and his grandma, they all got a lot of scrutiny. We don't know very much about the Bidens. So your reaction, and then just tell us a bit about the Bidens themselves.
Yeah, I sort of knew that this would get some attention, but I also knew that for anyone that had really been paying close attention, this wouldn't come as a huge surprise. This was a massive global controversy. Nobody copied on these alleged emails, came forward and said these are not authentic. Hunter Biden has never disputed the authenticity of these emails. And one of the recipients of one of these emails, Tony Bobulinski, came forward and said, yes, this email is real, and yes, 10 held by H for the big guy did refer to plans to have Hunter hold equity on behalf of his father. Obviously, the Biden campaign has said Joe Biden never considered doing anything like that. So it is definitely interesting to see the amount of attention this gets, given how unsurprising it should be, I think, to people. And in terms of what else is in this book, where do I start? Some of my favorite parts of the book are actually about Delaware, the Delaware Way. There's this incredible saga that's not really known about a beer distributor in Delaware who'd been a big campaign bundler for the Bidens, ends up going down on some campaign finance charges. But before he does, wears a wire for the FBI, goes after some people in Biden's inner circle. That investigation did not yield real evidence of wrongdoing by Joe Biden, but through the story of this guy, Chris Dagani, you sort of go through, the deep parts of Joe Biden's Delaware, and I think it's a real glimpse of that.
Yeah, so just talk some about the family dynamics. Who are the main players? How is Biden, who, we all do know the story about his wife and his baby daughter being killed tragically. Hunter and Beau are in the car. They're injured. He just was elected senator. He's 29 years old. He gets sworn in next to their hospital bed. Who is there to sort of watch the family, keep things together and make this all work as he's going to Washington to serve as a United States Senator?
So it really is a team effort, starting with the first Senate campaign in 1972. It's run by his family members. Val is the campaign manager. His brother, Jimmy, one of his younger brothers, heads up fundraising. And so when Nelia and Amy die, his wife and baby daughter, again, it's Val and Jimmy who really step up. They move in with the family, and they essentially raise Beau and Hunter while Joe Biden is off being a senator. And that is really the story of the family from beginning to end. They do everything as a family. It really is a team.
It's really interesting, pointing to that. And James Biden seems to escape a lot of scrutiny. The only reason I even know anything about him is through your early work at Politico, reading some of the pitch decks and things. He was, let's just say, not shy whatsoever at peddling he's like, my brother, the vice president, soon to be president. That's why we should probably make a deal on healthcare or whatever. How exactly did that come about? I mean, is this a facet of Biden's long career in the Senate? Obviously, these behaviors become learned in a way.
Yeah, that's a big theme of the book, actually, which is that this is a family that does not come from money. They did not come from any sort of well-connected background. They don't have, they don't have a lot of advantages in this world until all of a sudden they get their brother, their son, their husband elected United States Senator at the age of 29 in the biggest upset of 1972. And all of a sudden, that's sort of the golden ticket. They're on the inside of the American system. And they learn over the years, what the advantages of that can be. And Jimmy, who starts, he learns the ropes of politics as a 23-year-old. He's coming up to Washington, D.C. He's talking to union bosses, other interests, trying to get them interested in his kid brother. And so he understands the intersection of money and politics better than probably any other 23-year-old in the United States at that point. And the trajectory of his business career from there basically illustrates the ways in which his connections to Washington, his influence, his ties to influential people can be helpful to a business career and can potentially land his brother in hot water or at least create some unseemly appearances in some of these dealings over the years.
Yeah.
My experience with your reporting is that you really, take a pretty fair and critical lens, no matter what the party, whether it's someone who's in favor with the mainstream media or not in favor with the mainstream media, which is part of why, we really wanted to have you on and talk about this book. Is it your sense, covering Washington, that the Bidens are unique in the level of sort of trading access and favors and trading on the family name, or do you think that they're firmly in the mainstream of basically how this town operates?
I haven't gone as deep on every other political family in Washington as I have on the Bidens. I would say that they're probably emblematic of the Washington establishment, people who have been in power for a long time, who understand that there are advantages to proximity to power, people who have not landed themselves in an incredible amount of hot water, but there are often questions of propriety raised by some of these dealings. Just look at Hunter Biden's work for Burisma.
Yeah.
And so I think that in a different election against a different opponent, someone else might have really successfully painted them as symbols of the Washington establishment in a negative way. Trump ultimately didn't succeed in doing that, but it's possible that this is something that rears its head again if Joe Biden runs again.
I am interested. Hunter always comes across in your work as just this extremely tragic figure. And I mean, he is, right, in terms of the way he was raised. Obviously, Joe favored Beau, his brother, who was, kind of groomed and meant to be this next big political figure. And he's the one that's left, survival, guilt, all of that. What exactly, typifies like his behavior throughout Biden's career? He just seems like this wild card. And Biden, very strangely, because he conceives of himself, I can tell, as a stand-up guy. How does he look at the Burisma, Amtrak, credit card lobbying, the art sales? How does he justify that in his head, his treatment of his son? Is it just like a sympathy thing? Like, how does he square that with the square Scranton person that he conceives of himself of?
Well, one of the themes that I see really, really early on, it's going back to the beginning of Joe's childhood, is that his parents impress upon him and his siblings that inside this household, you can fight with each other as much as you want. outside of this household, you are Biden's and you are sticking together. And you will never speak ill of each other outside of this household. And there's a story from Joe's childhood. He's something like a hall monitor on the school bus. And Val does something she's not supposed to do. And he has this dilemma and he goes to his father.
Sister, right?
Yeah, his sister Val. And Joe Biden goes to his father and says, I have this dilemma. Val was, I forget what it was, chewing gum on the bus or whatever. I was told that I have to monitor this and report it to the nuns. And his father says, well, son, I guess you're going to have to turn in that badge. And Joe Biden is no longer a hall monitor after that.
Wow.
And I think that is sort of emblematic of the dilemma where Hunter Biden does something that does not look good, like take this position with Burisma, start selling paintings for up to $500,000 a piece.
Right. Tracy's really talented.
Right, yeah.
or engages in a relationship with Beau's widow and asks his father, will you please go on the record blessing this relationship? And his father does it. And so there's just sort of no world in which Joe Biden is going to publicly say, yes, I acknowledge that there are things that are or appear to be untoward about anything that any of his relatives do.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm going to take a wild guess that you've probably gotten a bunch of Fox News requests for appearances and probably have not gotten a lot of MSNBC or CNN requests for appearances. Just speak to that piece of this, because again, my experience with your reporting is you're truly fair. You follow the facts where they lead. Obviously, this guy's in the White House. Like, Val is still incredibly important and as a political advisor within his circle. I know she's one of the people that he really listens to. There's a small cadre of them that, always have his ear. Is it depressing to you or disappointing to you that there seems to be selective interest in digging into some of the, less favorable aspects of Joe Biden's rise?
Well, what I will say is that it's been very encouraging to me that my editors at Politico have said, report without fear or favor.
Stood by you.
Whether it's Donald Trump or Joe Biden or anybody else, that's consistently been the marching orders, and that's what the work shows. That's what the output of Politico shows. We're still pitching all sorts of networks and outlets that we hope will be interested in this.
Okay.
And I do think it is important to pay attention to these business dealings and the financial dealings of the Bidens. We've just emerged from the Trump era. It was awash in ethics scandals, questions about family members of the president and their business dealings and how they intersected with his official powers. It's a separate set of questions. It's not apples to apples, but these issues arise again and again over the course of Joe Biden's public life, and it's important that any outlet that's job is to scrutinize the presidency be doing that. And I will say that I think with this Hunter Biden painting venture, you have seen pretty widespread coverage of it, and I think it's indicative of the fact that people understand that this is important.
It's a little too on the nose, the painting, right? Yeah,
it's can't really.
A bit much. Do you have a place particularly you want people to go find the book, you and everything? So do you have a place you would like them to buy
Whatever your favorite bookstore is, it's on Amazon. It's hopefully everywhere. You can get the ebook version all over the place.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And where can they find you, your work?
You can go on Twitter at Shrek Reports. Good luck spelling that. SCHRECK Reports.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the best place.
Well, we'll have links down there in the description to all of that. Ben, just want to say, you're one of the few people who really chases after it no matter the consequences. So real props to you. I hope everybody goes and buys the book. And you're a real, what a journalist in this town really should be. So thank you.
Yeah, congrats on the book.
Thanks so much. I'm so glad you guys had me on.
Absolutely.
Our pleasure.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. And look, we've been trying to draw as much visibility to this as possible. Covering the news here apparently has consequences. Our stuff gets demonetized by YouTube all the time. The latest example was we covered that Roe versus Wade segment. Supreme Court.
Just breaking down the politics
of major news story across the country, and it was demonetized for the entire time that was basically live until 24 hours or something later, at which point you're not eligible to you don't make back wages, right? So it's what's the point? All we're trying to point to is that the only way, and again, it will not impact our coverage. I guarantee you one of the segments today will likely be done. Maybe the Gabby Petito one. It wouldn't surprise me if the Hunter Biden one does as well. But here's the thing. We rely on you guys to make sure that we do not care whatsoever about YouTube revenue. If it's going to swing down as much as it has this month, so be it, because we don't rely on that to pay our bills. And if we did, we wouldn't be able to. So there's a premium link down there in the description. Obviously, we offer benefits, but really, this is just about bringing you the news exactly the way that we think it's important to do so.
100%. Thanks for backing us up, guys. It means everything. It allows us to do this and just to really cover what we think matters and is going to be important and relevant for you. Little programming note, next week, the schedule is going to be slightly different. Normally we're Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Next week it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a conflict here at the studio. No big deal, but so Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yep. Also over the weekend, we're going to be putting out the mini show of the weekend content. So look for that on podcast. Also those videos will be posting over the weekend. And one other little thing, I'll do a little tease here. Got a little new partnership that we're going to be able to announce next week that we're excited about. I think you guys will be excited about it too. So stay tuned for that as well. Love you guys. Stay safe this weekend. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you back here next week.
See you Monday.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.